So here we are at my second Abramelin ritual part 2, and this is about trying to learn how to pray. I tried so many techniques in order to learn to pray and get a lift, and they all failed. I tried breathing with the verses. When I was reciting, I practiced before with my Psalm 119 and other favorites, and I practiced that by holding my breath during some verses and then breathing out while reading out others, and before my prayers in the morning I tried to do that fire breath and deep inhaling for 20 times with fire breath, and everything failed. And then I tried to do the light body thing, little bit like the Merkava, and that I felt a deep no. And I just couldn't get it to working. So the demons of failure, that you are worthless, were constantly whispering there. And it became so bad that even when I tried to really speak from my heart, that I constantly hear that, oh, you are so stupid, Christ won't listen to that, and that kind of thing. So I had these 2 weeks of trying to pray and failing every single prayer, and I fell lower and lower, feeling so completely worthless. And it was just that my determination kept me going. I promised to do this, and I'm going to do it no matter what, even if I die while doing it. That's part of my mentality. And I couldn't, and that's Prince wanting attention here. And nothing seemed to work. So I really started to break down there. Since why can't I pray? Others seem to pray without trying even, and they pray fluently, and they recite psalms, they memorize the psalms and pray that way. And I have memorized a lot of psalms in my life, but I felt a no on that, since the New Testament says that you shouldn't recite prayers like the pagans do and repeat them. So I decided to step away from everything I had learned and try to learn something new. So it went into long confessions. This is the beginning of the second part, so it is 2 hours prayers in the mornings and 2 hours of prayers in the evening. Constantly, you don't move from the altar. And in the end, I started to confess how bad I am at praying and how much I wanted to serve God. And that I can't pray and lift my soul up in prayer, it really becomes. And then I started to tell how the demons affected me, that I started to fear going into prayer. And I confessed every sin I had done from my whole life, and every other sin that I suddenly remember. So I've been in confession too for many days. I confess every week at least once, but during my rituals. But this was really... And I looked under every stone, and I couldn't find the answer to that. And then I just heard it, let it go, surrender. And I just felt surrender to what? And then I remembered the part in the New Testament where you allow the Holy Spirit to enter into you and help you to pray. And let go of anything I thought was correct prayer. So I started to pray that I would get help and learn how to pray. That please God help me, teach me how to pray so it's pleasing to you. And that started to make a change. And instead of thinking or trying to plan out the prayer, it's difficult to plan out a 2-hour prayer anyway, that I just let go. And if some thought entered into my head, like there is a famine there is a war there, I prayed for it. I started to let go of grammar, of being correct, of doing things well. I just wanted to get into my heart. And if I thought that since we have a moose illness in this country where the moose are affected by some bacteria or virus and they are getting smaller and they are dying, so that got my heart going again. And things like this, and I asked for help to pray. And sometimes in the middle, let's say 3 months in, the Holy Spirit entered in and helped me to pray, to show me the way. And there was that passion I never felt before. And I can't even remember the words, but all I can remember is that I was so happy and I was praying, and then I realized I have prayed for 4 hours from my heart without realizing it. And so there was so much that needed to be healed, and that was my sense of having control, doing it correctly, one of the biggest things. But then of course, then we have the next day, and that doesn't happen so often. But something had changed, so I started to focus on everything I love in God's creation. So it went into nature science again, where I praised how the trees were formed, the beauty of the trees, the birds singing, how grass looks different, and flowers, and all the mammals, the animals, the horses, the stars, the planet, the seas, everything went in there. And suddenly there was this childish joy in my heart that, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to praise all the time, since this feels good in my heart. And so, being my true self, I went from every sort of mouse, from the hazel mouse to the forest mouse, to the barn mouse to the house mouse. And I went through every animal to keep it going for 2 hours. And the giraffes and elephants got another prayer and so on. And it just kept on going. But there started to come in that joy into the prayer. I was my silly me, just as I was created, but I was honest, since I truly love animals and nature. And then we had a little bit of magic there. I asked, since I read, I can't remember, but I read in the Bible that there's birds sing praises every morning with you to God. So I decided to open my bathroom window and call out to the birds before I started ritual, will you sing praises with me? I'm going to pray. And the pigeon family actually took my words and moved into my balcony, so that's why I try to take pictures from my balcony, since they live there. And since they are nesting there, I can't open my balcony door, since I don't want to disturb them, that's their home. So I just put my head out the window instead. And so they started to sing when I started my prayers early in the morning. It is around between 2 and 3 in the morning, so it's early here when the summer is. And then started to come other birds. And what really was strange to me, that a woodpecker arrived and started knocking on my window. And I live on the 4th floor, or top floor. And started knocking and make noises. Then I had crows. Then I had other little birds. And suddenly it became a fact that I started to ask the all of nature and God's creation to pray with me. That became a part of my ritual as well. And I started to relax more and more. And once I started to relax, I could really focus on Christ. And that's when I had the sensation that I should ask him directly, just bluntly going there. Please, Lord, could you please engrave the Sermon of the Mount into my heart and in gilded letters? And something happened when I asked that. I don't know what yet. But I meant it from every fiber of my sense. That please, Christ, teach me. Help me to understand the Sermon of the Mount. Help me to live like, since I like Paul much more than Peter. Help me with the Corinthians and Hebrews. Help me to understand what I can do for me. I have a lot of worldly wisdom, but help me, teach me, guide me. And then I had the idea that came from that create of me a vessel that you can mold into your servant. And then I cried out in desperation, please give me a brain that you can direct like the waters of the sea. And I realized how stupid that sounded, so I started to laugh. And suddenly I felt angels around me, and they laughed too, and there was suddenly that sense of joy that started to explode during my prayers. I made a fool of myself in so many ways, and yet I had to do that in order to battle the demons of unworthiness. And things started to change. And now I feel very comfortable that days when I feel that I'm low, there is so much homelessness and suffering, and I pick up people's emotions. So when I feel their pain, it's difficult for me to rise up. So I use my crutches. I read the Sermon of the Mount, recite it, or I recite Psalm 119 before my prayer, and then I step into prayer. But it was all about surrendering and accepting that I can't pray, and that needed to happen in order for me to start to learn how to pray. And I'm not sure, and I'm going to talk about it later on when I read my diary. I'm talking from memory now, since too much things happened and I haven't really worked it out yet, and probably will not in a few years. That I believe that I received the baptism of fire. I was knocked out for 6 hours, completely without warning, knocked out, and I haven't been my same since. And there was so much energy in the room, and I haven't heard of anybody else having a blackout and completely fainting by power in prayer and laying still. But since I felt so different, and I felt so loved, and I felt like I have arrived home, that I thought maybe this was the baptism of fire. So I don't know yet. God knows, but I don't. But all I know is that there was that first connection to Christ there, and you are home. Your soul can rest. Don't try so hard. You can rest now. You are at home, child. And I felt that it was true. I had arrived home. I finally found my home. And so there is a lot of things that has been removed from me since then. The angels worked, Christ has worked healing. A lot of scars, anger and pain has gone. It was like he lifted off the weight that I carry on for all of my neighborhood, the homeless and everything. It was just like he lifted up tons from my shoulders, and he's carrying them now. And since everything is so new, but I just wanted to tell you that letting go and asking God to teach you how to pray, that, and the Christ and the Holy Spirit, as well as the angels, that accepting that I can't pray on my own. And I also had a dream where I saw the love between the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit moving in perfect union between each other, and I realized that I must ask for God's love, the pure love, to enter into my heart before I can pray as well. And let go of all the tactics and theories how to enter into a spiritual high. Let go of all that, just go on and do it, and ask the Holy Spirit for help, and ask the angels for help, and ask Christ for help, and ask and nature for help, and the birds. And then just allowing it to happen, surrendering completely. And my IT is low again, and this is a refillable card, and I've been filling it nearly every day with 10 megabytes or something, and it goes out in the middle, so I have to be very careful with this until I get the fiber. But have a magical day and be inspired, and I love you all. Bye for now.